Oh, hello and welcome. Welcome to the live. I'm just grabbing a brew. So I saw this like brilliant little, let's call it an Instagram clip. This little short reel on Instagram with Jeff Bezos speaking. And I think all the algorithms are serving me this type of content at the minute because I've been thinking about it a lot. I've done a lot of videos on sort of what you need to create a business or become successful. And some of it, the videos that I've done are based on books that I've read, things that I've seen, and also my own personal experience, right? And the struggles that you have to go through if you want to create a business from scratch, right? So, don't know if you know, a bit of background on me. I've created two businesses now, the two that I have. So I had a career in corporate, and then I created two businesses with brands and products from scratch in very big markets. And this is like not selling other people's products. I've actually created the brands from scratch, which is really hard. One's a software product, one's a physical product. Anyway, and I saw this thing about with Jeff Bezos. So because I've created a lot of content on this, I saw this little video with Jeff Bezos talking about basically what he thinks, his thoughts on business and stuff. And he basically just says you can choose a life of ease and comfort, or you can choose a life of service and adventure. Right. And he goes on to say that it's not about he calls it gifts. It's not about your gifts, the things that are given to you that make you successful. So think about gifts. These can be like natural talents, or you might be like, he goes on, he said, you might be naturally beautiful, you might be naturally good at maths or math, as he says, because he's American. Naturally good at math, naturally beautiful, you might be naturally talented athlete, something like that. These are all gifts or things that are given to you. And Bezos goes on to say that he struggled with this when he was young because he was like very good at school and things, and thought, "Oh yeah, I'm brilliant at math. I'll be very smart, and this will make me successful." And he realised that it's not your gifts, it's not the things that are given to you, it's the choices that you make in life. I thought, yeah, that's absolutely flipping bang on, if you ask me. So I've actually put a link down below in the description to that little short reel, which you can go and watch after this live, because it is quite powerful. But Bezos actually mentioned this because, yes, we can all have talents. Yes, we can develop our skills and learn new skills, which obviously I advocate for. And if you're naturally gifted in some area, let's say you've been lucky enough to be given, as handsome as I am, say, then you're going to do well. But I'm only messing. No, what I mean is, like, if you happen to be like, if you think about Elon Musk, right? He's just his brain is just like, he's just so much smarter than everyone else on the planet. So that's going to be a huge advantage, right? Even Jeff Bezos, super smart guy, huge advantage. Because if you happen to have those natural skills, then great. Now, the funny thing is, I don't think you need to be as smart as Elon Musk. I really don't. I do think you need a bit of something about you. So you need some natural skills. One way or another, you need to be competent enough in enough areas. And I've done a video, might be down below, link down below, maybe. But if not, look on my channel. It's called the 7 Mental Models for Success. So I talk about universal skills, 7 universal skills that you can develop to become successful. So let's say you've got all those skills. You don't need to be as smart as Elon Musk, but you need some level of competence, right? We'll assume you've got that. It then just becomes about the choices that you make in life. So Jeff Bezos' point, where he says You can choose a life of ease and comfort, or you can choose a life of service and adventure. Choosing a life of service and adventure, actually taking a risk and saying, you know what, yes, you might have, the life of ease and comfort might be staying in your current job. You're happy with it, it's not a strain. That's a life of ease and comfort, but you're only going to get so far there. You're certainly not going to become wildly successful. You would only become wildly successful if you then chose a life of service and adventure, as Jeff Bezos said. So that might be, okay, I want to start this thing, I'm going to do this thing new, I'm just going to go for it and trust in yourself. Obviously, that's very difficult. I'm not saying this is easy. But you see a lot of successful people that you might look at them and think, they're not that smart. Why are they successful? And this is the point, right? Like I say, you don't have to be as smart as Elon Musk. You just have to make the choices. You have to make the choice to choose adventure. Just go, right, I'm going to create this thing. I'm going to go for it. And even, like myself, I'm clever. I'm smart. Smart enough to create business and things like this and to know what to do. Well, I'm not exceptional. I'm not some kind of fucking maths expert or whatever. Decent at math, but maths. I was talking math then, like Bezos. Decent at mathematics, but I'm not some exceptional brain like bloody Elon Musk. I just took risks. Calculated, I've decided I don't want that. Left my job in corporate and I went for that. It was a decision, so it's the choices you make. So let's have a look at a few talking points. I've also got some decent diagrams I'm going to share with you. Like Jeff Bezos says, it is your choices that construct your life, not your gifts. And sometimes they're hard decisions, right? And he does talk about why avoiding regret is the ultimate clarity tool. Because he basically says in that little short reel, like, when you get to 90 years old, what is going to be the thing that you remember? And I've seen this before. I saw it sometimes called the rocking chair test. Whenever you come across a decision in life, if you can imagine yourself, and I've seen this before in various psychology books, imagine what you would think as like a very young child or at the end of your life in your rocking chair. You could look back and think, am I proud of my choice there? Not where you currently are. Try and imagine yourself in the future, looking back, what you would remember. I was talking to Nikki about this. Obviously, Nick's part of the Goal Achievement Hub, the journal business, the new business. And I was saying that to her, she's got a fantastic career at the bank, really good job, right? It's given her a great future. But I don't think it's not been satisfying enough for her, you know what I mean? Every now and again, it's like, because it's that, it's like my corporate job. And I just said to her, like, I wanted to come in the business on a permanent basis. And I said, like, it is. It's like an adventure. It's like, if you think of yourself when you're, in your rocking chair, you look back, are you going to be fucking talking about that job at the damn bank? Or are you going to be talking about this business that you started? Whether it became wildly successful or not is irrelevant, right? You don't want regrets or not. She wanted to create a business. She wants to exercise her skills in marketing, and this is the perfect opportunity. So obviously she came on board. Now, and I think I just wrote a few notes down. Obviously, these are in the description, these talking points I've got to make. So it's like, it becomes a choice, right, between comfort and adventure. And how do you choose the right path? Well, I've said this before. Naval Ravikant, one of the great, very successful person, if you ask me, Silicon Valley investor, everything, lots of businesses. He always talks about when you're caught between two paths, taking the route, the path that offers the most pain in the short term. Because usually, if that's more painful, that's because it's the biggest change. It's the initial change in direction. Whereas if you choose the route that doesn't have any pain, that's generally the status quo. And the point is, there's pain either way. If you choose to stay where you are on the status quo, you will, trundle along and then get to the end of your life and think, what the fuck have I achieved? And then there's pain. Whereas if you take the pain now, you take the path that offers the most pain in the short term, you then get the reward later on in life because you took the pain early, right? And that's that. So the choice between comfort and adventure, how to choose the right path, is literally choose the path that offers the most pain in the short term, right? I've got a point here, very tiny decisions shape your identity. Yeah, they do. This is just about breaking it down. The next smallest step method, which I did on the live stream the other day. If you look at my previous live stream, I've got a link to an article I wrote on the Goal Achievement Hub website, and it's called the next smallest step method. If you want to go on that website and check it out, if not, I will retrospectively add that to the description after we finish this call, so you'll have to click back on the video later to get that. And then generally applying long-term thinking to everything, right? To business, fitness, relationships, life. I generally don't work on short-term. Everything I do, I don't believe in short-term. Everything's a long game to me. It's like a lifestyle. It's like choosing the identity and living by it, living in accordance with your identity, living life on your terms. It's very long-term, and it's taking little meaningful steps every day. So that like the last point I got here is creating a life that you're proud of when you look back. If you think about it, you're making all these little decisions every day. As long as you're making the right one based on which is going to benefit me the most. Quite often that might be, instead of choosing the route of comfort, you're going to choose a route of adventure, which may be painful in the short term, but it's always going to benefit you. Same way like going to the gym, lifting weights, go and train in a martial art. Take that initial pain, get the benefit later. Because you want to be able to look back at the end of your life, you want to be able to look back and be proud of all the things that you even tried, let alone became wildly successful in. And also from your own personal perspective, just from a person that's tried many things. I've tried many things, took the criticism, like what the fuck are you doing and all that, and then when one of them comes off, it's so gratifying, and you really ground it through. So something else I just want to talk about. I've got two diagrams here. So another post, which is related. Emotional cycle of change. I don't know if this is going to be super clear, but it's a bit like when I've talked previously about Seth Godin, the marketing guru, his book called The Dip. You'll have to mirror this because it's alive. I probably should have printed it mirrored. But in Seth Godin's book, The Dip, it's very similar to this. It's this sort of dark point down here, which is called the Valley of Despair. So imagine this diagram as being something where you just start off on a new business or something. Now, step one, it's called uninformed optimism. This is absolutely true, right? In everything I've ever been involved with, including my current businesses that I've got today, this is a reality for every single business, right? Step one is uninformed optimism. You set off full of beans, right? You've got this idea and you're like, fucking brilliant, come on. You're all enthusiastic and it's dead exciting. You're creating a website, you're creating products, and you're getting ready to go. And then you launch, right? And the reason why it's called uninformed optimism, because even though you've done a bit of background research on your products, quite often you've not got enough until you actually start. And then when you start, you see all sorts of things that you haven't seen before, right? That might be a shitload of extra competitors you haven't even factored in, all sorts of stuff, right? Loads of like extra work that you realise you've got to do. And then here now you end up with this informed pessimism stage here, where you start thinking, oh shit, there is a lot of work to do here, right? And this is a real moment where, like, you're still riding on the back of this uninformed optimism here. You're still on a high, and then you think, "Oh shit, I've got to do all this work," but it hasn't quite sunk in yet. You're just realizing that this is quite hard. And then after that, this step 3 here now, this is the valley of despair, which is the hardest time. This is where it really hits you, and it feels like success is so far away, right? And you've got to cross this valley of despair here. This is, Seth Godin's book, The Dip. This is where he talks about in the bottom of the dip where it's super lonely and it feels like you're so alone and it feels like it's not working. Right. I heard Elon Musk talk about this, like, as well, where like the difference between people that make it to success and not, as Elon said, is perseverance, right? And it's crossing there. In Seth Godin's book, it's the exact diagram, and he calls it the dip. And he just says, if you keep going, this is where people give up, the valley of despair, because it feels like success is so far away. You might have even invested a shit ton of money and time at this point, and it's bloody dreadful, and it feels dead lonely, and you're at the bottom, and it feels like no one's behind you. And this is where I say, if you don't have passion for what you're doing, you need passion. If you don't have passion for what you're doing, this is where you're going to give up, 100%. Right? If you're just looking at it as a get rich quick scheme, I'll get my money in 6 months and I'll be out, and you're just doing some fucking daft thing like crypto trading, bots, or whatever shite they're trying to sell you on the internet, this is where you're going to give up. So another thing that I've heard is crossing the chasm, which is this section here. This is the valley of despair, and your job is to keep pushing through. When Seth Godin talks about this in his book, The Dip, basically it's like a blind zone where you don't know when it's going to start turning up. You can't tell when the up, but once you get to here, you get momentum. Once you reach this step 4, which is called informed optimism. That sounds flipping great, doesn't it? This is where you start to see the signs of success. And this might be after many months. I've heard Alex Hormozy talk about this when he goes on about when he was sleeping on his gym floor and all that stuff. When he, just started his gym and he was sleeping on the floor. And it's that lonely moment where no one's rooting for you. And if you can make it to it, informed optimism, this is when you start seeing the first signs. And then this can be quite steep. Seth Godin explained this. When you're on that back curve, once you start noticing success on that curve, and it starts going up, it can rapidly rise. And then you got step 5, which is called success and fulfillment, which is where you made it. So I'm currently here in this journal business, currently here, right? And if I hadn't have experienced this before, I would hate it. The fact that I know this, because I did this with my software business, and also the software business was probably about 10 times the pressure of the journal business. And I really was alone, and it was like horrendous and nearly put me in a box. I was there, so I had a real, and also because it was the first time I'd ever tasted it, I didn't have a bloody clue what it was, and naivety and everything, and a whole raft of things. Totally didn't have a clue. Underdeveloped in business. Didn't have any skills. I was there, and it was horrific. But because I was 2 feet in, I was literally pot committed. I was literally 2 feet in. I could not back out at that point because I've given it everything, money, time, whatever. I put far too much into it. Um, you could say buyer's remorse. I think the difference here when you're in business, like um, when you start a business, this is what the book Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman says. It basically says if you look at the odds of business success, um, it's not worth it. It's literally not worth it on paper. Um, and he goes on to say, like, why do people do it? Well, even these people that start the businesses, they kind of know it's not worth it. The time that they put in and the effort and the years that you have to push through these difficult times, um, it's because they're doing it for some other reason. It's like, for me, it's always been a personal goal. It's like, I want to do this thing and I'm doing it even if it bankrupts me, you know what I mean? And that's the attitude. So yeah, if you can make it to step 4, there's a good chance that you're going to gather significant momentum and get success and fulfillment. The reason why I'm sharing this, I talked about Nick earlier. I don't want to talk that much about Nick, but when she came on board, because she'd not experienced this before, I saw this happening. I just shared it. This from like an Instagram post. I just shared it with her earlier because I think it explains a lot. Because I'm saying, like, you start off absolutely, she's got this like nice, comfortable job in the corporate world, paying a really good salary, giving her a brilliant lifestyle, basically. And then she's just jumped in this business with me, and I noticed this uninformed pessimism, just language coming out of her, like about the amount of work that needs doing, and then maybe even sinking to here the other week in this valley of despair. Just the language, our conversations, all this kind of thing. And I'm trying to tell her that, look, right, I know this model. The reason why I shared her this, so I know this model. I've done it before. You're not alone here, right? Because I'm with you in this business and I've been here before. And all we have to do is make it to step 4. And then we can go to step 5. This is real. And the funny thing is, anyone that you know that is successful, or any famous person, including Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and all of them, have been through this. They've been down there when it's lonely. Alex Hormozy has been down there when it's lonely. He talks about it. And it's only when you push through. This is the point when people give up. This the valley of despair. And as Elon says, the difference between the people that become successful and not is perseverance. So don't give up. But in order to not give up, you need to be doing something that you're interested in. I've got another little diagram I want to share, which is useful. You've probably seen this. Have you ever seen the hero's journey? I just printed it off just so we could have a little look and compare this. The hero's journey is again, I wish I'd have printed that. You know what? When I prepare lives next time, I'm going to print everything back to front so it's right for you guys. So apologies, you'll have to sort of screenshot this. Hey, how are you doing? You have to screenshot this on your mobile and then flip it. You can mirror it, can't you, in Android or iPhone. So the hero's journey, right? This is call to adventure. Same thing as what Jeff Bezos is saying. Do you want a life of comfort or adventure? So this is like the known world at the top. This is like the Shire, in Lord of the Rings. It's like very comfortable. This is the known world, the familiar. And then you get this call to adventure. So Jeff Bezos is saying, do you want a life of comfort, right? Or hang on, I'll read you exactly what he said. You can choose a life of ease and comfort, or you can choose a life of service and adventure. So just think about that term, and let's have a look here. So we've got the known world. This is very comfortable. This is the Shire, and you get this call for adventure. Right, you're going to go out and you hit the threshold of the Guardians. Right, so this is like might be, where Frodo goes to the edge of the Shire, and he said, "I've never been any further than this before." When they're going out of the Shire, he's never been any further in his life than this before, and that's when you cross the unknown. That might be leaving your job and starting a business. It could be anything, big life change, right? And then you're gonna pass the threshold, right? And it really is like this. So you can imagine this is that dip again, and then you reach this here, which is the abyss, right? And the death and the rebirth at the bottom. Right? And the idea being is, if you can pass through here to the very bottom, right? And you could say, it's got revelation there. I think this one would be more like maybe red pilling yourself in the general term. Like red pilling is in opening your eyes to how the world really works through a huge life experience. And then you have this kind of transformation in mindset because you've taken the risk. You've responded to the call to adventure, right? And then when you return, you see this atonement here. Atonement's quite good. How can we atone in life? Well, there's many ways. That might be learning lessons and, coming back with fresh ideas, and maybe atonement might be doing things for your family, helping people. But you're atoning for yourself. So you're never going back to the old self. You're saying, I'm now, it's almost like, so you could see this like an identity shift. You've now become that new person and you're never going back. Right? And then you return to your life of comfort, but this time with your success, your new success in your life change. And then you might go out on another call to adventure. So yeah, 2 diagrams that explain all that. Flash this one up again. It's more of a linear progression, but obviously you've got step 1, you're up here. Life's very comfortable. Right. This is uninformed optimism. This is where you start the business, you haven't got a fucking clue what's going on. You don't know what's in you yet, the amount of work. You then go into, you go from uninformed optimism, step 1, to step 2, which is informed pessimism, which is like, oh shit, there's a lot of work to do. Right, then you go to the valley of despair, where it's really hit you. This is where you're going to quit. And if you can get through to step 4, there's a difference between people that quit when times get tough. And as Elon says, the difference between people that are successful and not is perseverance. So you've got to persevere to step 4, where you have all of a sudden you start seeing some little signs, the light at the end of the tunnel, informed optimism. You start seeing it, and then you get this huge momentum, upward trajectory to success and fulfillment. So you can map both together. There they go. All right. Yeah, I've seen this before, seen it again, and that's why this time it's not scary. Not at all. So yeah, had that chat with it, explained what I think, and then there you go. You can choose a life, and I'm going to read it again. Jeff Bezos said, you can choose a life of ease and comfort, or you can choose a life of service and adventure. It's not about your natural talent, he explained, but about the intentional decisions. It is your choices that construct your life, not your gifts. By gifts, he means the things that are given to you, your natural skills. You can be brilliant or beautiful or very clever, but unless you make those choices for service and adventure, you end up with ease or comfort. Right. Thank you for listening. Hope you have a nice day. See you on